Good morning, everybody. To the Rudnick family, my condolences during your recent loss. You've been in my heart and in my prayers. I had one opportunity to work with Cy, and I found him to be a beautiful person. It was just a joy to be in his presence. He'll be very much missed. And to the rest of you, hello. Whether you're here at Unity Temple, watching us on the internet, or listening to a CD, we are here this morning to share experiences. We talk about life. We think about life. We explore different ways to enrich our lives because we're of the firm understanding that every problem, every challenge has a spiritual solution. Perhaps you're going through a difficult time right now. Perhaps you're facing a problem or a challenge that just seems too big to move beyond. Perhaps you recently suffered a setback or a loss. And I know that the worry and the fear and the anxiety and the pain can be intense at times. But I say to you, don't give up, don't feel defeated. Don't feel like you're hopeless or that you're helpless, because there is a spiritual solution to every problem. Keep your hopes high, keep your faith strong, keep your trust unwavering, and keep your confidence intact. Hope, faith, trust, and confidence. And of those four, confidence is of the utmost importance. Confidence is the foundation that hope, trust, and faith build upon. Confidence is the foundation that peace of mind and well-being can reside. It's confidence, most specifically, self-confidence. It's everything. Every single thing you experience in your life comes back to the confidence you have in the situation or the circumstance that you're facing. Now, human beings represent 3% of all the life forms on Earth. 97% of life is not human. 3% are human beings, and I think it's safe to say that as human beings, we are the most intelligent, we are the most sophisticated, we are the most civilized of all the life forms. But it's also safe to say that we as human beings, we worry more, we stress more, we have more anxiety, we have more unnatural fears than any other life form as well. So the question is, why is that? Why do we have these emotions that weaken us, that pull us down, that are not comfortable, that are self-imposed, but no other life form has them? Are we right, or are all the other life forms wrong? I often say that we're students of life, and one of the best teachers that we have is Mother Nature. If we observe nature, we can see in every species that nature has a magic, it has a miracle, it has a wonder to it that provides every living thing with exactly what it needs in order to live a comfortable and fulfilling life for what that particular species is going to experience. For an example, if we look at the eagles that live in the canyons of Colorado, the mother eagle builds its nest high up off the ground on the ledge of the canyon wall. And it builds a nest with a certain kind of wood called ironwood. Now, it's called ironwood, first of all, because it's as strong as iron, but second of all, because it has thorns, sharp thorns that lock together and create a strong foundation for the nest. Sometimes a mother eagle will have to fly as much as 100 miles in a single day to find ironwood to bring it back to build the nest. Once the nest is built, she begins to pat it with feathers and leaves and other debris to make sure that it has a strong padding so the eggs won't get injured and the baby eagles won't get injured when they're born. So, the nest is built, the eggs are laid, the eggs are hatched, the young eagles begin to grow. Well, it isn't long before the young eagles outgrow the nest, and there's usually 2 or 3 of them. And also, their demand for food becomes greater and greater to the point that the mother eagle can't supply all the food that they need. So the mother eagle has a natural instinct within her that tells her somehow, some way, these eagles are going to have to leave the nest if they're going to survive. So she begins to plan. She begins to pull the padding out from beneath the nest so that the thorns come through and they poke the baby eagles, or the young eagles at this point, which is supposed to motivate them to leave the nest. Now, for those of you at home, parents specifically, if you have adult children that are staying at home and you think it's time for them to leave the nest, we can actually learn from the mother eagle. If you will go in and pull the padding out of the mattress of your child and let the springs poke through, you'll find that they'll soon leave out of a sense of discomfort. But the thing is that the young eagles have never known an existence beyond the nest, and so they're still reluctant to leave. So the mother eagle goes into phase 2, and she sits on the edge of the nest. She puts her wings down towards the baby eagle or the young eagles, puts a little bit of food up at the top of the nest, or the top of the wing, and when the young eagle crawls up the wing to get the food, the mother eagle ever so gently pushes off the nest, hundreds of feet in the air, and as she's floating, she'll tip, and the baby eagle will slide off the wing. Well, as the baby eagle falls, it begins to flap its wings hysterically, and it begins to break the fall, and for the first time discovers its power of flight. Now, that whole process is somewhat miraculous and is somewhat genius. But the question I have for you is, how does the mother eagle know how to do that? She didn't go to eagle parenting school. She didn't study it in a book. How did she know to build the nest out of ironwood? How did she know to pad it? How did she know when it was time for the young eagles to leave the nest, how did she know that the young eagle wouldn't plummet to the ground when she tipped it off its wing? How did she know that? Well, the answer is the mother eagle was given a God-given instinct to direct her, a God-given wisdom to supply her with what she needed to make sure that her young eagles would grow and that they would move out and be able to carry on their own lives. Now, the eagle isn't a smart bird. Its brain is about the size of a pea, yet it has enough genius, it has enough intelligence to know how to do all of those things. And how did the young baby eagle know to flap its wings hysterically when it started to fall? Something inside it directed it, another divine intuition or divine instinct that said, this is the way you're going to have to do it unless you're going to plummet to the earth. And so it did that. Now, the point of this whole thing is the eagle was given an instinct, it was given a wisdom, it was given a genius that provided with it every single thing it needed in order to do what the mother eagle needed to do. And that is true for every single species on the earth. Whatever it is, they're given a wisdom, they're given an instinct, they're given an intelligence that allows them to move beyond problems and challenges that they face. There isn't a single species on this earth that indulges in worry, anxiety, hyper-anxiety, artificial fears. They all just do what they're called on to do at the time when they're faced with a problem or challenge. Every single species does that, except for we human beings. We human beings have that same instinct within us. We have that same wisdom within us, the same divine intelligence within us that will guide us through any problem or challenge that we happen to face. But for some reason, we choose to step outside of that and worry and get anxious and get fearful and doubt the fact that we have what it takes to do what we need to do. Why is that? It's not natural. It's not within the confines of nature. It is unnatural. We weren't born with it. You know, as young children, we didn't have artificial fears. And when I say artificial fears, I mean anything that doesn't have to deal with safety, security, and survival. All the other fears are artificial. They're not fears at all. They're not based on fact. So we human beings are the only ones that engage in artificial fears. We didn't come into the world with it, but we were conditioned with that type of thinking. Our parents, the generations before us, engaged in that kind of thinking. They passed it on to us. By the time we're 18 years old, we are told, this is on an average and facts that come forth from researchers, by the time we're 18 years old, we've been told 186,000 times, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's programmed into us. Whenever we approach something new, we approach something that's challenging, that little voice comes forward, you can't do that. 70% of all the chatter that goes on in our mind, all the self-chatter, the self talking to the self, 70% is of a negative nature, saying, you can't do that, you don't have what it takes, you aren't as good as you should be. So we've been conditioned to doubt ourselves. Now, the importance of this is, whenever we move into a situation or a circumstance, whether it's problematic or not, we move into a situation or a circumstance and we're in a neutral position. We don't have any emotions flowing. And at that point in time, as we perceive what's going on and we assess what's going on, we have one or two options that we can take. We can move into the stream of self-doubt and that stream has thoughts and feelings and attitudes and perceptions of a similar nature, a stream of self-doubt that says, you can't do this, you're not going to be able to make it through, you're going to fail, you're going to be defeated. And the more we swim in that stream, the more pronounced those thoughts get. That's one option, the self-doubt, and the other one is self-confidence. When we face something, we can move into the stream of self-confidence, and we can say, this is part of my life. I have everything I need right here, right now, to manage this and move through it. I may fall, I may fail, I may stumble, but I will get up and I will move through this, and I will benefit in the process. Now, the gist of this whole sermon, or this whole lesson, is to be mindful of when those situations or circumstances arise before us, and to make the conscious decision to move towards self-confidence and away from self-doubt. The higher level of self-consciousness, the lower level of self-confidence. I want you to think about that for a minute. The higher level of self-consciousness, the lower level of self-confidence. Now, a perfect example of this. A couple minutes ago, we all stood and we sang a hymn. It went fine. I don't think anybody here was particularly self-conscious about how they were singing. Perhaps some people weren't singing at all. But we did that with a sense of ease. Now, if I came out in the audience and picked any one of you right now to come forward all by yourself and sing that same hymn all by yourself, unless you have a trained voice, you'd begin to doubt yourself, you begin to fear, you begin to think, what are other people going to think? I will be the laughing stock, I'm going to embarrass myself, I will fail at this. But it's doing the same thing, only it's doing it before a crowd. And that's because as you would come forward to sing that song, once again, singers back here, they jump at the chance to do it. But for most of us, it would be a frightening experience to come forward and do that, and our self-consciousness would rise to the point that we were very, very aware of what we thought other people were thinking and what other people were feeling about us and how they felt about our singing. With self-consciousness rising, our self-confidence dwindles. I know this from personal experience because when I come out here on Sunday mornings to do a talk, if I don't have the confidence, my self-consciousness rises and I'm wondering, what are people thinking? That guy just looked at his watch. He's tired, he's thinking of those hot dogs down at the picnic. Sometimes I wonder if anybody's listening. The cameraman left. Where did he go? Anyway, you get what I'm saying, and we go through life with this, and if we find ourselves in a situation, sometimes it's a confrontation, sometimes we do something that's a mistake or it causes a problem, and we get very self-conscious about it. That self-consciousness turns into self-doubt. That self-doubt takes us down a stream that's very uncomfortable and oftentimes holds us back or deprives us of the life experience that we need in order to enrich our lives. The bottom line is that we are students of life. Life is the teacher. And there's no way that we can learn, there's no way that we can grow, there's no way that we can evolve into all that we're meant to be, which is the purpose of life, grow into all that we're meant to be if we're shying away from life, if we're resisting life, if we're thinking that we can't do it. Do you understand what I mean? You understand how we are opposed to and contrary to every other aspect of nature. It's we human beings alone that engage in this. And the reason we engage in self-doubt is because it's a fabrication of the human mind. It's an imaginary situation, it's imaginary disposition that we have come up with that we think we can't do it. When we're young and we're raised by families, and as children we're encouraged to do what we can do, but then there comes a point when we're told we can't do that. We move into the school system, we're told, here are the grades. Susie got an A and Dookie got an F. And true story. And so we begin to condition ourselves as to this is who I am, and this is what I am, and this is how worthy I am. These are the capacities and the capabilities that I have. And we diminish ourselves to a point where there's much, much more to be discovered. And that's the whole point of life. The point of life is to experience the exhilaration that comes from all of a sudden realizing that you're more than you've ever been before. That you know more, that you have greater understanding, that you have a greater peace of mind, that you have greater compassion and love that only comes through the life experience. It's just that we have to stop being afraid of being who we are. It's moving forth with confidence and lowering the level of self-consciousness. So think about that as we move into meditation. And know there is a spiritual solution for every problem or every challenge. And also know that right here, right now, you have every single thing that you need to move beyond any problem or challenge that hampers your peace of mind or your sense of well-being. You have that right here, right now. We'll now move into meditation. Take a moment to take a deep breath. Hold it for a moment, then slowly exhale. And one more time, and as you exhale, feel every bone in your body become relaxed. This is a time of peace. It's a time of stillness. If you're facing a problem or a challenge at this time, know that this time too shall pass. The dark clouds that come in and cast a shadow over the bright light of the day do move on. There's an old proverb that says, the skies are dark, the winds are strong, the waves are high, my boat is small. But I have no doubt I will make it to the other side. Every problem, challenge, or difficult time has a beginning and it has an end. And the journey can sometimes be very, very difficult. But if we keep our hopes high, our faith strong, our trust unwavering, and our confidence intact, there is no doubt we will move through it and gain from the experience. For a moment, think of everything that's happened to you thus far in your life. All the problems you've had, all the challenges that have come your way, the difficulties, the losses, the setbacks. You've been through a lot. Yet here you sit. You've conquered them all. You are the victor. You have a spirit within you that's undefeatable, and it does provide for you everything you need to move forward to your greater good. As we move into the silence, take a moment to think about yourself, the strength that you have, and generate the confidence to know that you are on your life path. Everything that happens has meaning, and you're always on your way to a higher good. In the silence.
Hope's high, faith strong, trust unwavering, confidence in God. And as I speak these words, please make them your own and say them back to yourself. I live without fear to meet the events of this day with confidence. I live without fear to meet the events of this day without confidence. I live without fear to meet the events of this day with confidence. And so it is.
Peace is flowing. Peace is flowing. Peace is flowing.